Hello, YouTube. Welcome to Robot Time Machine. It is very lovely to have you here, YouTube. We're just going to turn on Facebook. Facebook's about to come in 3. Facebook, hello, welcome to a new show. This is Robot Time Machine. This is a new show. I was going to hold off in our first broadcast. However, we've just found out some absolutely heartbreaking news. This has come about only in the past few hours. Make have announced this. Now, the rumors had been spreading in the last Maker Faire. Before the last Maker Faire that was mid-May, Dale, who's the founder, mentioned that Make may be going through some financial problems, and so people speculated that this potentially could be the last Maker Faire. And what we're seeing just this afternoon is reports that, they're going into liquidation. Now, I'm going to bring up in one of these split screens the articles. I've seen 2 articles so far, one of them coming from TechCrunch and the other one coming from Hackaday. I haven't fully read them. I wanted to sort of go through with you here live to have a look and see what's actually happening. So I'm just going to bring up one of the articles. I'm going to see whether, as I said, this is the first time this show is coming live. It's kind of like the Wednesday show. If you saw the old school Wednesday shows, you'll recognize things like a little bit of in excess coming at you. Now, copyright laws are terrifying these days, so at the moment we're going to reduce the amount of singing, and no, we're not. It's Phil Collins. We're going to go with all of it. We're going to go with everything. If you're there and you can hear audio, let me know. I'm going to do the quickest test just to make sure to say this is a test. I'm pretty sure we're going well. So if you're just tuning in right now, we're here to discuss Maker Faire. If you've been, you know how heartbreaking this is. If you haven't been, let me explain what it is. It's Coachella for nerds. Take the greatest event on earth and then allow people to go to it. That's what Maker Faire was. Maker Faire was about 120,000 people collecting either in the Bay Area, New York, or like 150 different locations each year for a celebration of DIY, making, cosplay, anything that you're into. If you make stuff, this was your place to go along and show things that you had built. We're just finding out today that it sounds like they're shutting down. It really sucks. It absolutely sucks. So I'm going to try and bring in one of these screens. Let's see if this works to bring this up. Okay, here we go. So this is Hackaday. If you don't read Hackaday, you got to start reading Hackaday. It's a sensational outlet. Really good fun. Some amazing people working there as well. What we're seeing here is it's the article. Trying to just bring up my little article here. Whoa. Look how many times I'm appearing on screen at the moment. This is not the one that we wanted. Let's get rid of that. I'll try and bring back the let me see if I can bring it up. No, maybe this one. So this is a brand new broadcast that I haven't tried before. All right, I'm going to read the article because this I wonder if this is still okay. I'm going to read it from the other screen because it's not it's a bit hard to read at the moment. Let me bring this up. Yeah, so this is a new studio. This entire setup is brand new. Wasn't going to go live or even do a show for probably the next day or two. Really was thinking like, we'll give it some time. I'll do some practice runs, but I saw this news today, and so I thought, we got to jump out there. Hello to everyone on Instagram. If you're watching and you're wondering what's going on, you're seeing behind the scenes. Instagram is able to see the screen that I'm looking at, which is a monitor with many inputs. So we're going to try this reading the Hackaday once again. I'm sure we'll get it. We'll get this right. We can do it. I'm absolutely sure we can do this. This way feels good. Is this going to work? There we are. Nice. Nice. Okay, so. And then it cuts away again. Oh, I've just realized why. I just realized why that happened. We're actually going to try this way. That's cleaner. That's a cleaner way to do it. So, make potentially shutting down, potentially going for hopefully not too long. Hopefully not too long at all. But let's read this article. Maker Media ceases operations. Over the years, I'll read it out to you. Over the years, we've had the dubious honour of bidding farewell to numerous companies that held a special place in the hearts of hackers and makers. We've borne witness to the demise of Radio Shack, Tech Shop, and Printerbot, and even shed a tear or two when Toys R Us shut their doors. These things have all happened recently, and Make's right. These are heartbreaking things. I mean, these are things that we've either grown up with or been a part of. But as much as it hurt to see these companies go, nothing quite compares to this. Today, we've learned that Maker Media has ceased operations. Those lines are the reason that we're here tonight, because Maker Fairs I remember going to my first Maker Faire probably 6 years ago. I was up in San Francisco, and I'd read about it, I'd heard about it, I'd never been to it living in Australia. And I went up to San Francisco to check it out, and I was legitimately blown away. Like, absolutely blown away. Let me describe this to you. I go in, having seen photos and knowing that a bunch of the people that I look up to were always there. I saw them post things on Facebook and so on. So I thought, I wonder what's going on. So I went up there for the first time and was introduced to a group of people who just built things and wanted to share their ideas and share the things that they had, that they had learnt along the way, and the cool stuff that they had built. And it was the most friendly, inspirational event that I'd ever been to. There was robots, laser, fire. There was everything that you want and more. And as I walked around, I remember I bought things. I bought stuff from... I bought some add-on LED displays for an Arduino. It was like an 8x8 RGB LED display. I think it was from Dangerous Prototypes. I bought it from. My friends from Crash Space were there. It was awesome to see everyone from Crash. They've been there every year. They're just incredible, the stuff that they build there. And I walked away not only wanting to go again, but wanting to add value next time, wanting to be part of it. And so a year later, went along with my friends who were helping make the Tomorrow Show, and we did a live episode of the Tomorrow Show there. It was wild. I remember Anouk was there. We had Dale, the founder of Maker Faire there. Brinkley Warren of Megabot was on there. It was so cool. And the premise just allowed us, like everyone, I'm pretty sure it was Bridget who we were working with back in the day. She was so welcoming. Everyone at Maker Faire was so welcoming. And if you're just tuning in wondering what Maker Faire is, it's one of the most important events to makers and the DIY community. So it's heartbreaking to see. So let's keep reading what we see here. Between the first issue of Make magazine in 2005 and the inaugural Maker Faire later that year, Maker Media deftly curated the public face of the maker movement for over a decade. They didn't create maker culture, but there's no question that they put a spotlight on this part of the larger tech world. In fact, it's not an exaggeration to say that the shuttering of Maker Media could have far-reaching consequences that we don't fully understand for years. I completely agree with that. And take this as a hypothesis. If you removed Arduino from the maker community, specifically the electronic maker community, the quantity of projects that involve small electronic pieces, flashing lights, anything to do with elementary electronics would disappear. If you rewound time and had to make everything using a PIC 16F84 microcontroller, no one would do it. Arduino came along and created not only an amazing product, but the community that sat around it is one of the reasons for their success. All of the online code, all of the resources, all of the people who constantly support that sort of open source endeavor. Companies like Particle came about from Arduino in a way, using the same type of scripting. If you think about the disappearance of this festival, what isn't going to occur in the future that could have come out of Maker Faire? I'm sure smaller events are going to pop up. Things like DIY robot cars, that's going to no longer have a space at Maker Faire. And so, look, they're killing the game every quarter with their competition up in San Francisco. But, I mean, what else is going to disappear? Let's keep reading this. While this news will surely come as a crushing blow to many in the community, Maker Media founder and CEO Dale Doherty says they're still trying to put the pieces together. And he quotes, "I started the magazine and I'm committed to keeping that going because it means something to a lot of people and it means something to me." At this point, Dale tells us that Maker Media is officially in a state of insolvency. This is an important distinction and means that the company still has a chance to right the ship before being forced to declare outright bankruptcy. And this is why I like the Hackaday article. This is journalism coming from... Hackaday don't just attend Maker Faire. Hackaday throw after parties. If you've been there before, you've probably been along to the after parties that Hackaday throws. And so this distinction that they have here, I hope in the tech community, we have a white knight that comes along and solves the problem that we've got. If I look at a company like Salesforce, the endeavors that they have should support this. I really think that Mark, the CEO of Salesforce, should contemplate either supporting or buying or incorporating Maker Faire into Salesforce in some way. One, they've got the money. Two, they have an enormous network. And three, who knows what hardware integration could do to Salesforce? I don't even know. I certainly know those tickers that people have that show, like the subscriber counts and so on. They're great. Salesforce, I don't know. We're just spitballing here, trying to think of ideas of how we can get back Maker Faire. But certainly Salesforce, if anyone can reach them, let them know that they should buy Maker Faire. So continuing on. In layman's terms, the fate of Make magazine and Maker Faire is currently uncertain. The intent is to restructure the organization and rehire enough people to keep the brand alive, but it may take rethinking their business model entirely. While they aren't looking to crowdsource the resurrection of Make, Dale said he believes the answer may ultimately come from the community's willingness to financially support them. And he quotes, "My question is, can we perhaps rely on the community to offer support for what we're doing in ways that we have not asked for in the past?" So here's one. Dale didn't reach out to the community as strongly, and I'm taking words out of his mouth here, but I think what he's saying is Dale didn't reach out to the community enough and ask for blatant amounts of money. It was always about the community. Dale's an incredibly amazing human, one of the most genuinely nice people in the world. Maybe he thought it wasn't the right thing. Again, if we need that white knight, such as Salesforce or Google, to come along and just we're asking those large tech companies, help us, give us $100 million to bring back Make. Give us $200 million. We'll bring back the value. How? Because the support that you give will in turn develop the next round of engineers that work for your company. So Google, Salesforce, Facebook, you all have been to Maker Faire before. Not only those guys, Conan's there. Many people don't know this because he doesn't film sketches there. Conan goes to Maker Faire every year because it's one of the most incredible events on earth. So I'm going to say what it sounds like Dale didn't say. Google, can we have $200 million, please? We will bring back that value over the course of 15 years through the talent that is reintroduced into your business. So let's continue on. It's impossible to overstate the positive influence that Make has had on the public's perception of DIY. It put on a global pedestal the sort of projects which otherwise might have never been seen outside the basement workshops or garages they were constructed in. It's absolutely true. Through their events and outreach programs, Make showed an entire generation of young people that building something just for the joy of building it was something to be proud of. Make proved that nerds could be cool in a way that had never been done before, and worryingly may never be done again. That's heartbreaking. That is absolutely heartbreaking because it's so accurate. It's so accurate that if we lose Maker Faire, what's going to replace it? What's going to come back and actually replace Maker Faire in such scale? As I said, we're talking 120,000 people. This is the size of Coachella, but for nerds and for people who build stuff. The education that it brings, the support it brings the community is just absolutely mind-blowing. Yeah, and I'm just saying here, Steve, my friend, is this not the worst news you've ever heard? Yeah, it's. I'm hoping Dale can find something as well. Gavin, yeah, man, as a fellow maker, like, what can we do? What can we do? Sarang, how you doing, buddy? Nice to see you. And we're also going live on Instagram as well. You can see behind the scenes how I transition between cue shots and so on. Yeah, you can see stuff on Instagram. So we're going live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you're wondering what's happening, this was a new show that I was going to be coming along with. The name of the show is here we go. Robot Time Machine. So this show is called Robot Time Machine. I was going to do a full launch and everything, but this news of Maker Faire, we got to talk. We can't let there is a very short window once a business reaches insolvency before they have to go Chapter 11. Once you go insolvency, administration starts coming on. The business changes. So we need to do something now. We need to act now. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but I think Dale's right. It's probably the community is hopefully going to know what we can do. So let's go back and have a look at what we were talking about. Explosive growth. When the first issue of Make hit newsstands nearly 15 years ago, Maker Media didn't exist yet. At that point, the magazine was managed by a division of O'Reilly Media that Dale founded. Within the first year, Make became so popular that they decided to bring the show and tell concept of the magazine into the real world with the very first Maker Faire held at the San Mateo Fairgrounds in California, which was also the most recent Maker Faire and unfortunately was also the genesis of a bunch of the early reports that Make was going into a bad time and potentially insolvency. I cannot remember where I saw it first, but I remember I was in New York and couldn't attend Maker Faire this year, and I think about 3 days before Maker Faire, which is around mid-May, saw an article saying that Dale had mentioned that there was going to be potential finance problems. People started thinking maybe this would be the last Maker Faire. We all hoped it wasn't going to be. Let's continue reading. From that point on, the Make brand seemed unstoppable. It spawned a whole line of books that drilled down into specific facets of the maker community. And after a few years, there was even a more artistically themed spin-off called Craft. Many will remember there was even a short-lived Make television program that aired on PBS in 2009. Maker Faire also saw astounding growth. This is wildly incredible what we're about to hear here. Approximately 22,000 people attended the first Maker Faire in 2006, but by 2011, cumulative attendance to the primary events held in New York and California had skyrocketed to 175,000. 175,000. 175,000. 175,000 people attending these events. A massive portion of those making something and bringing it along. A huge portion of those working in the technology community, sharing ideas, bringing new ideas into the ecosystem, and a generation of kids learning about science and tech. This is heartbreaking. Let's continue on. Let me bring myself back up. I'm really glad that these transitions are working. As I said, this is a new show. Wasn't sure how this was going to go. We were going to launch it in like a week or two, but I thought, no, we'll start doing it now. And if you're wondering what's going on, the show is called Robot Time Machine. You're damn right, it's called Robot Time Machine. What a sick name. Okay, let's get back to reading this. So, 175,000 people in attendance. The next year, mini Maker Fairs started sprouting up all over the United States to cater to those who couldn't make it to the coastal events. All told, Maker Faire events were soon playing host to over 500,000 annual visitors. 500,000 annual visitors. Just incredible what Maker Faire had achieved. So here it is. By 2013, the decision was made to spin the Make empire off into its own company, Maker Media, with Dale at the helm. The new company would not only oversee the magazine, books, and live events, but also the developing new products and services as part of what was already being called the Maker Movement. O'Reilly Media founder Tim O'Reilly believed that it was time for Make to grow beyond its enthusiast roots and become the cornerstone of a whole new market. A movement that began with enthusiasts has turned into an entrepreneurial revolution. As an independent company, Maker Media will be able to accelerate its growth and develop new services for the maker community. Huge. The new CEO of Maker Media also believed it was time to recognize the movement had grown beyond its humble beginnings. While Make started out with geek hobbyists, the audience now included families who look for fun educational projects to do together. Dale said in a post to the Make website, it also includes makers who are developing new products and services for other makers and other audiences. It includes professional engineers and industrial designers. To explain what's going on to those on Facebook, yo, Katie, hello. To explain, Maker Faire's shutting down. Instagram, you're seeing behind the scenes on how everything works here. You're able to see how that all goes. If you want to see that, Facebook, YouTube, jump on Greybright Instagram. Let's keep going. So what we're talking about is Maker Faire, the Coachella for nerds, has gone into insolvency today. We need to talk about why this has happened and what a potential solution is. So investors seem to agree with Maker Media securing $10 million in two funding rounds between 2013 and 2015. That same year, with events now as far out as Cairo and Hong Kong, Maker Faire attendance broke 1.2 million people. It's 1.2 million people. 1.2 million people are going to these events. By any metric, Maker Media seemed well positioned to be the de facto leader of the DIY movement that was now to become a worldwide phenomenon. The high watermark. We're coming to the end of the article now, and then we'll discuss. The high watermark. With that much momentum, and just 4 years after the last influx of funding from investors, how can it be that Maker Media is teetering on the edge of bankruptcy? With the benefit of hindsight, we can see that 2015 ended up being something of a peak for Maker Media, while cumulatively, Maker Faire events in 2017 surpassed 1.5 million visitors. Since that point, there's been a steady decline in attendance for the flagship events in New York and California. The company was forced into laying off some of their staff earlier in the year, and just last month, we reported on the possibility that the flagship Maker Faire might be coming to an end. It's difficult to nail what went wrong, but part of it could simply be that the maker movement was content with remaining an underground niche. The glitz and glamour offered by Maker Media just wasn't what they were after. In his announcement of Maker Media, Tim O'Reilly made a comment that today seems nothing less than prophetic. That's a really hard word to get. I'm going to try that again. Nothing less than prophetic. The problem is that, as has often been said about AI as well, as soon as something crosses over into the consumer realm, it no longer seems as makerish. In Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Hunter S. Thompson reflects on the failure of the 1960s counterculture to spread despite the incredible momentum it seemed to have at the time, saying, "With the right kind of eyes, you can almost see the high water mark, that place where the wave finally broke and rolled back. This moment might be looked back on as the point where the wave broke for the maker movement, but we still have a chance to decide how far back it will roll." Incredible. Really well read, really well written article there. That's from Hackaday. If you don't subscribe to Hackaday, please go check them out. They're an incredible team, an incredible publication. So what we're talking about is Maker Faire. What do we do? What do we do? How do we fix this? I don't know how we solve this. I'm not sure. I'm going to show Instagram folks what this looks like. I'm not sure how we solve it. That last sentence actually really interesting. Is it that it got too big? Is the maker movement just an underground movement? I'm not sure. I think even if it is just an underground movement, there's still space for something to be there. And when I rack my brain about the ecosystem, yeah, it's interesting that Maker Faire really holds the lion's share. We have an incredible event put on by Hackaday. Their super conference is rad, but I guess it's limited in size and in scope. That's certainly by choice. I mean, how can you hold an event that has 175,000 people? I mean, that is a beast onto itself. The solutions that come to my mind instantaneously are that, yeah, we need a company like Salesforce to come along and buy it and keep the team there. Keep it as is. Just give them funding. I find it really hard to fully comprehend that Uber can progress losing hundreds of $1 million per year, yet because they are or were run in an almost tyrannical way, in a no holes barred, let's just do everything we can to make this business operational. Profits didn't matter. They became successful, IPO'd, all those early investors will get paid back. the ones who have invested now, hopefully they get their money back in some stage in the future. Does Maker Faire have to take that same mentality? I don't think so, but I think it can take a page out of Uber's very long book of how do we get investors, or how do you run a highly for-profit business but still keep the front of it Maker Faire. Maybe that was what's needed. Maybe Maker Faire had too much of a maker mentality internally, which, look, as I look around at the things that I make, at the core of when I make things, I'm always trying to reuse things, do things really cheaply, hunt for bargains, not view it as a highly profitable orientated situation. I make things because I love making things, and I think maybe in that way I don't try and excrete every ounce of profit from it that I can. And potentially that is something that is just inherent in the maker community, and maybe that's what has happened here. Maybe I don't even think it was ticket prices were too low. I think maybe it was just we didn't have enough funding. When I hear $10 million raised between 2013 and 2015, even if that is $10 million raised both times in like an A round and a B round, 20 million to fund something that affects 1.7 million people in such a positive way each year just isn't enough. Absolutely isn't enough. So I'll go back to what I said before. Salesforce, will you please give us $200 million? Google or Facebook? And the reason I pick out those companies is because the talent that you will get, go to Maker Faire. You absolutely know it. Google sponsored parts of Maker Faire every year, and they knew it was because the circular notion of fund, educate, take talent. What are we going to do without Maker Faire? I'm gonna look around at some of these comments, see what's going on here. We've got, what do we got? Jonathan, how you doing, buddy? Other elements have gone more mainstream. They can lose heaps of cash like crazy because there's a huge promise of future value. Yeah, that's a really good point. Maker Faire just doesn't really have that. Could be to gain innovation case for, could take TEDx model. Yeah, to paraphrase what Jonathan's saying there on Instagram, and everyone on Instagram gets to see behind the scenes on how I make these shows. Check out Grey Bright Instagram. The notion there is that, we've got... Sorry, I'm just trying to see if I can bring up... There we go. For-profit businesses such as Uber run on a completely different model. You raise unimaginable amounts of money on unimaginable promises, and then you fight to make those come true. And I'm going to say in the case of Uber, they did disgusting things along the way. I don't think Maker Media would do those things. So we're not going to see a business like Maker Media be able to live up to that crazy world. But maybe they do need to be operated in a similar way to a for-profit. Maybe they need to do a couple of rounds and really run it like a business, and absolutely charge the maker community for all aspects of it, not just ticket prices, but membership fees, so many different things. I don't know. I keep going back to the fact that at a top level, these large corporations in the Bay Area, New York, and around the world, so much of your talent is nurtured at things like Maker Faire, reading Make Media, and the community surrounding it, that I think you really need to get into it. And I know Zuckerberg listens to all Facebook live streams, so hopefully he's hearing what we've got to say here. So Oh, what else we got? Wesley, you think there would be a call to arms before this happened, though? Yeah, there has been a few GoFundMe pages I've already seen being tweeted out by some makers. And look, that's the thing. I don't know what Dale was thinking, so all of this is speculation. However, I feel if I put myself in the shoes of Dale, and you're talking about a community that large, I think he was probably hesitant to reach out and beg, which is probably what he thought. I'm sure he feels such an overwhelming responsibility to this community. This will be breaking his heart. I cannot imagine what Dale is going through. It'd be heartbreaking. So I think, yeah, I'm not sure what our solution is, but I certainly do think the money that gets poured into other avenues by large-scale businesses, and I keep going to Salesforce because you all know how much profit that company rakes in. SaaS businesses of that scale, just your CODB is built on servers, like realistically. There's so much profit there. I really think they need to step up and do something. Mark Benioff, I don't know what we can do for him apart from give him awesome talent in the future. That's the thing. This is like watching the demise of seeing where the next Elon Musk is going to come from. It's like having baby Elon going to a version of Coachella and then taking that away. And him never existing. Because those who don't know what Maker Faire is, it's literally Coachella for nerds. 175,000 people. So look, the other article that I wanted to read quickly is on TechCrunch. I thought we'll have a look at this. This is a new show, by the way. It's called Robot Time Machine. We were going to call it The Tomorrow Show. I'm going to show... and while we're doing this, and those on Instagram, really good point. How to catch a wave like AI in recent without knowing anything and set the business. Yeah, this is the thing. That line about, once something becomes commercial, it disappears. Maybe there's a little bit of truth to it. To show you what this isn't the correct intro to this show, because at one point this was going to be a reimagining of the Tomorrow Show. So I'm just going to quickly show you this the intro video because it's quite fun. Here we go. Oh, welcome to another episode of the Tomorrow Show. That's not what this is. That's not what this is. This is Robot Time Machine. But I wanted to show you that intro video because I made it. And so I wanted to show you it because that's what making's all about. My goodness. The whole maker community. Check this. This Project Da Vinci is a CubeSat. I was gifted this by some amazing people in Idaho when I was doing Young Inventor of the Year in Idaho. Things like this are so important. This is made by teenagers. They're putting a satellite into space. Did you hear me? They're putting a satellite into space. I'll say it once again. They're putting a satellite into space. That's what Maker Faire is all about. That's what the community is all about. We've got to find a solution to this. Let's check out what this article is all about. So this is our friends over at TechCrunch. Maker Faire halts operations and lays off all staff. God damn, that's hard to hear. That really, really is hard to hear. Let's see what the article talks about. Financial troubles have forced Maker Media, the company behind crafting publication Make magazine, as well as the science and art festival Maker Faire, to lay off its entire staff of 22 and pause all operations. Hold the phone. Hold take your phone and hold it for a sec. Get a phone and hold it for me. Pick up your phone, grab a phone and hold the phone, because you're telling me that an event that affected 1.75 million people was run by 22 people. Now, for those who don't understand how Maker Faire runs, let me explain to you. You can't put on these size events with 22 staff. Do you know how these things came about? The community. All of us. Everyone who went along. We all helped out. Maker Faire had 175,000 people per event. Coachella for Nerds. It's mainly volunteers. And I'm not talking like a few. I mean nearly the entire event. You're telling me that an entire event put on by volunteers should disappear? Mark Bainoff, you're telling me an entire event affecting 1.75 million people, put on by 22 people, and thousands of volunteers shouldn't exist? I know it's not part of your business. I know it's not part of Salesforce, but we need to do something. Salesforce, come on board. Solve this problem for us. Show us what it means to be Salesforce. Mark, I know you can do it. I know you can do it. You will have the love and admiration of so many. Okay, let's get back to this. So this article, what happens? Here we go. Okay, this is the first time we're running this show. It's going pretty smoothly, to be honest. I thought I would have accidentally hung up on myself about 6 times already, but we haven't, so that's good. So financial troubles have forced, 22 people. TechCrunch was tipped off to Maker Media's unfortunate situation, which was then confirmed by the company's founder and CEO, Dale Doherty. For 15 years, Make guided adults and children through step-by-step do-it-yourself crafting and science projects, and it was central to the Maker movement. Since 2006, Maker Faire's 200 owned and licensed events per year in over 40 countries let attendees wander amidst giant, inspiring art and engineering installations. 1.75 million people per year, 200 events, and this is going under, and we're going to lose this. We can't lose this. Let me see what's happening here. What have we got here? I'm going to see, we've got a Instagram, someone on Instagram wants to come through. Let me see if I can, I wonder if we can, I'm going to see if this works. We're going to try and go live. Okay, I'm seeing whether we can go live with someone on Instagram. This will be interesting. We'll see how we go. Camera's not set up. Yo, how you doing? You're live, my man. Can you hear me? Oh, we're nearly there. The last...
It's very, very bad.
Oh, you're in...
Very sorry.
Oh, not a problem at all. Welcome to the show.
Ooh. I can't hear you.
Ah, all good, all good. We'll try and do this another time. This would be awesome to have you in. It does. Oh, are you there? Can you hear me? No, it's all good, all good. Thank you for trying. We'll speak soon. So, 22 people, 200 events per year in over 40 countries. Next part. Maker Media ceased operations this week and let go of all of its employees, about 22. Dale tells TechCrunch, and he quotes, "I started this 15 years ago and it's always been a struggle as a business to make this work. Print publishing is not a great business for anybody, but it works. Barely. Events are hard. There was a drop-off in corporate sponsorship. Microsoft and Autodesk failed to sponsor this year's flagship Bay Area Maker Faire. Oh. this is about to get awkward. Microsoft, what are you doing? Autodesk, are you serious? Autodesk, are you serious? You try and make us use things like Tinkercad 1, 2, 3. You no longer want to be part of the community? Autodesk. What? I had no idea that line was coming. I had absolutely no idea that line was about to be dropped upon us. Microsoft and Autodesk failed to sponsor. Now, I completely get corporate sponsorship. Do what you want. Do what you want. Don't sponsor events. Do what you want. I find it a little awkward when a company like Autodesk that continuously tries to speak to the maker community becomes part of its demise. Little awkward. Little awkward, got to be honest. I'm just a little... It's hard, it's hard because Microsoft and Autodesk, private companies that can do what they want. However, you benefit from these fairs. Both of those companies. Microsoft, you guys, M2M. Oh no, that's AT&T. AT&T. You guys probably never sponsored it because really disappointing. Really, really hard to hear. Really disappointing. But Doherty is still desperately trying to resurrect the company in some capacity, if only to keep Make's online archive running and continue allowing third-party organisers to license the Maker Faire name to throw affiliated events. Rather than bankruptcy, Maker Media is walking through an alternative assignment for benefit of creditors process. I don't know exactly what that is. However, I'm presuming hopefully we're going to have either liquidation of assets or assignment of assets to someone who can do it. Once again, I'm looking at you, Salesforce, and now I'm looking at Autodesk and Microsoft and asking, how about you come back to the game? We needed you. We needed you, Microsoft. We still need you. We still need you. You can still be part of it. Heartbreaking. We're trying to keep the servers running, Doherty tells me. I hope to be able to get control. Sorry, let me just bring this down. We're trying to keep the servers running, Doherty tells me. I hope to be able to get control of the assets of the company and restart it. We're not necessarily going to do everything we did in the past, but I'm committed to keeping the print magazine going and the Maker Faire licensing program. So let me read the next line. The fate of those hopes will depend on negotiations with banks and financiers over the next few weeks. For now, the sites remain online. What I read by where it says Maker Faire licensing program, what that potentially just means is, it's this part here. The licensing program is the event that's held in over 200 events around the world. They're not the main Bay Area or New York Maker Fairs that are the Coachella for nerds. So we still something needs to be worked out for those. And yeah, these 200 events held around the world, something's got to happen with them as well. You can't just shut them down. The CEO says staffers understood the challenges facing the company following layoffs in 2016, and then at least 8 more employees being let go in March, according to the SF Chronicle. They've been paid their owed wages and PTO, but did not receive any severance or 2-week notice. Oh, this is hard. It started as a venture-backed company, but we realized it wasn't a venture-backed opportunity, Doherty admits. As his company had raised $10 million from Obvious Ventures, Rain Ventures, and Floodgate, the company wasn't that interesting to its investors anymore. It was failing as a business, but not as a mission. Should it be a non-profit or something like that? Some of our best successes, for instance, are in education. So maybe there's a solution. As you can see on screen at the moment, a lot of the magazines, a bunch of my friends have been on this cover. I imagine that for a musician, this would be like Coachella shutting down, along with Rolling Stone magazine. Like, imagine both of them just disappear overnight. And I say that where like a Nook, a bunch of people watching this know a Nook Whipwrecked. She's been on the cover. Simone. These idols of ours. This was our Rolling Stone magazine, and it's disappearing, and that's not cool. We got to work something out. The situation is especially sad because the public was still enthusiastic about Maker Media's products. Doherty said that despite rain, Maker Faire's Bay Area event last week met its ticket sales target. 1.45 million people attended its events in 2016. Make Magazine had 125,000 paid subscribers, and the company had racked up over 1 million YouTube subscribers. But high production costs in expensive cities and the proliferation of free DIY project content online had strained Maker Media. I wonder if that's an attack at let me just check something. Because I wonder if that last line's almost like Instructables. Who funds Instructables? Because I got the feeling we're about to learn something. Instructables. I think Autodesk. I don't want to get into this until I know exactly who owns Instructables. I'm trying to think who owns. Yeah. Here's something interesting. That last line, check this out. Now, I'm speculating beyond belief here, but that last line says, high production costs in expensive cities and a proliferation of free DIY project content online has strained Maker Media. Check this. One of the companies that they are most likely referring to is a great site called Instructables. Now, Instructables, it's a cool site. It's great. It's got lots of, oh no. Whoops. Totally didn't mean that. Sorry. So look, Instructables. Hey, Kyle. Here's where it gets crazy. Instructables is what they're saying, a high proliferation of DIY content available. Instructables is owned by Autodesk. So that little rant that I had a few minutes ago about why did you pull out Autodesk, you better not have pulled out so that you could just increase the size of Instructables. Autodesk. It's hard not to correlate these two things together. It's hard to not imagine that the folks at Autodesk potentially went, we want to destroy Maker Faire so that Instructables is bigger. By pulling out, Instructables had been part of Maker Faire for years. You're the same community. It's the same community. Yeah. Let me see what year. Autodesk. Oh, this makes me sick. This is absolutely insane. Have a look at this picture here. Oh, this is even on the Instructables website. Autodesk acquires Instructables. What it means for makers. That's the Maker logo. That's literally the Maker logo. Autodesk was so part of this community. That is their logo. Yet a few years later, they decide, you know what? We're not actually here for the Maker community. I tell you what, this article should have actually written Autodesk inquires Instructables what it means for makers. It means we're going to shut down Maker Faire. That's what it means. This is hard. This is hard. This is hard. This is all very hard. So, what does this mean? What can we do about it? I don't know. I do not know. We're in a tricky spot. Maker Faire means a lot to a lot of people. I think potentially here are some solutions, because you can't just complain about things. You have to find solutions. You can't say, blah, blah, blah. You can't say no unless you have a way to say yes. You can't go, no, I don't want to do that. You have to say, no, it probably won't work, but here's how we're going to do it. So here's two potential fixes. First one, Salesforce comes along, gives us 200 million. Perfect. That's good. Salesforce. Let's see how much Mark's worth. $6.5 billion. One person, one human. 6.5 billion. Salesforce as a company let's see. Salesforce has a market cap of, where's their cap? 125 billion as a market cap. You're going to get talent from it. Come along and sponsor. Or secondly, Autodesk really could highlight, just like in this article. This article says Autodesk acquires Instructables, what it means for makers. Autodesk, we're asking you, please come back into the game. You pulled out sponsorship and look what happens. We need you. Come back. A lot of makers, we all use Autodesk products. We all use them. Please come back. Help us out. So, that brings us to, I guess we'll call it the end of a show. This has been it's the first episode. I'm seeing some comments here. Hey, Lucy, humans are here to create. Yeah, Maker Faire was amazing. It was spectacular. It was the best thing ever. What do we got? If they license the Maker Faire brand at $10,000 per event, they can make $2 million with no outlay or costs. Yeah, it'd be interesting. You're absolutely right. It'd be interesting to find out what the cost of licensing those events actually is. I can't imagine that'd be. I mean, I've got no idea actually, but you wouldn't think it'd cost too much at the moment, but maybe it does need to be increased, because I think that's probably one of the things. Ticket sales, I guess were. Let's see, how much were ticket sales? Not much. They weren't much at all. They were cheap. Maybe they increased ticket sales, increased licensing fees. It costs a lot to run events, security, marketing, facility, hire, venture costs. It all adds up. You need big corporate support, the likes of companies you mentioned. Yeah, those big companies. And the payback's there. The payback is there. The payback comes about through the fact that the talent that they're looking for, they're at these events. My Instagram video ended. Maybe I'm only allowed to do it for a certain amount of time. How long have we been going for? Oh, nearly an hour. That's why Instagram must only let me do live for an hour. Have we been going an hour? That was, wow. All right. That was a lot longer than I was planning. Folks, very nice to see you all here. I'm going to be back a lot more. Doing this show in in a variety of different ways. Tonight was really just a test. It was a test, and it was an opportunity to really highlight an issue that is going to affect our community incredibly. I mean, this is only day one of potentially a world without Maker Faire. And I know that sounds crazy, but here's the reason it's such a big deal. It's Coachella for nerds. Now, the difference is fans of music have 100,000 other events that they can go to. There's so many different festivals in so many different genres. There's so many things that you can do. When I think about Maker Faire, and specifically it being around like robots and electronics and crafts and gardening, making things, being a builder, being a maker, there's really not that many other events out there of that scale. And so we're losing the biggest festival in our community, and it's terrifying. The two opportunities I see are $200 million in funding. $200 million. Come on. Even like a Warren Buffett. Come on, my friend. Come on, help us. $200 million in funding, or the sponsors come back on. And I think it's a really interesting one about Autodesk. I honestly think that Autodesk did not know the impact they were going to have by pulling out their sponsorship. And I'm getting my facts from TechCrunch. Okay, so I'm going to quote TechCrunch here. TechCrunch makes the comment that it was Microsoft. There was a drop-off in corporate sponsorship. Microsoft and Autodesk failed to sponsor this year's flagship Bay Area Maker Faire. We need that back. So, this is the end of the show. The show is called Robot Time Machine. It was going to be called The Tomorrow Show. But I'll go into another episode as to why it's not called The Tomorrow Show. We'll do that another time. I'm going to make a new title because I make all the titles. I'm really proud. I'm actually ultra proud. Here's one of the things that Maker Faire used to do. It was all about, it was all about making stuff and building and making, and, I'm really proud of what I've made there. I think it's really cool. There we go. All right. Well, it's been very nice to have you here. I want to say thank you so much. Can I have a noodle? These are these are French fries. Okay, how many more are there? Whoa! It went down the desk. It went literally down the desk. Oh, another one. Thank you. What? Now you may be wondering. Can you throw me the packet? What are these? What on earth? What are these? Well, these of course are French fries, and they go inside there, and they go inside here, and that's a French fry. There you go. That's a French fry. That's absolutely a French fry. And maybe in another episode we'll explain what on earth they are and where they came from. All right. This has been the first episode of Robot Time Machine. This has been the first episode of Robot Time Machine. Thank you so much for coming along. It's been a big show. Heartbreaking to hear about Maker Faire. Hopefully we can work out what we can do with Maker Media. Check out Robot Time Machine on YouTube, Greybright on Instagram. We're going to do this. This is probably going to be 2 times a week. This show is going to happen. Might do live, might do recorded. We'll see what happens. It's been nice to see you all. I'll catch up with you again soon. Enjoy your night. We'll see you later. Bye.